Welcome to the Expansive with Anna Gatmon podcast, where we talk about how to participate in the spiritual evolution taking place at this time on our planet, how you can accelerate your spiritual growth to meet the challenges of our times, and personal tools to help you thrive, flourish, and help shift human and planetary consciousness. Because 1 degree shift can change our world. I'm your host, Anna Gatmon. Thank you for joining me. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Expansive with Anna Gatmon video podcast. I'm Anna Gatmon, your host. Wherever you're watching or listening to this, thanks for joining. Let's just jump straight into today's topic. So I want to focus today on how to find peace in anxious time, how to find deep inner peace and calm during turbulent times. So let's just unpack it a bit. So we always have something that we're dealing with, right? Whatever it is you're dealing with in your life. And then add to that these anxious times that we're living through. Ecological crisis right now, fires, floods, hurricanes. All of this is going on at the same time, not for everybody, but we're hearing about it in the news, and you might be one of those people who is affected by this. And build to that the political unease and unrest and uncertainty and economic hardships. It's coming at us as an assault from everywhere. And one of the kind of main teachings of spirituality is to find inner peace, and no matter what, to be in this place of inner peace. Now, we know it's easier said than done. So what can you do, and what do I do? Which is different than how I'm imagining other teachers and other disciplines and teachings are talking about it, and how I think it's in the culture it is talked about. So I think a misconception is that inner peace is you're just kind of sitting in stillness. Nothing bothers you. Your mind is quiet. Your thoughts are quiet. And you're just in this peaceful state. Wouldn't we all want to be there? Well, first of all, just slowing my voice, the rate of my speech, breathing deeply, putting my hands together on my heart already got me into that state. So that's one tip of how you can do that. But I want to talk about the misconception of this, because as human beings, we are thinking beings. So it's very difficult to stop our thinking. And we're all connected to social media or to the internet, to the news, and we just hear about all these things going on, and then we have our own life and what's going on in our life. And so it's really hard to find that inner peace. Yes, you can sit in some peaceful Zen garden and go, wow, this is really inspiring me. And yet your mind could still be racing. I just had COVID, and I was in bed. And during that time, I thought, wow, I have permission to do nothing and disconnect from the world. My mind was still racing. I was thinking about my life and my career and my parenting and my kids and my relationship with my spouse. And I mean, I was trying to figure out everything. I saw it as a week of reevaluating my life. So I was busy, and I thought, okay, it's all in here, in our thoughts, in our consciousness, and what we're connected to, rather than just, okay, if I had a peaceful environment, it would be easier. Could be, but I'm the one who's creating the lack of peace or the peacefulness. So I have a radical different way of looking at peacefulness from just being quiet and not having any thoughts. And that's what I want to offer you today. I want to offer you to find peace through action, peace through intentional action. It's a powerful tool. So just for example, if you think of something that you love, a hobby you have, something you love doing, and you're really passionate about it, and you find yourself, think of something like that you do. when you engage in that activity, whatever it is, hobby or your profession, something you love doing, you're passionate about, it really connected to the essence of who you are. When you do it, time recedes and the world recedes, and it just becomes this timeless place where there's an inner peace within the action that you're taking, because you're so aligned to who you are that there's peacefulness in action. And so here's an example of how through action you can find peace rather than trying to stop the assault of information that's coming at you and hoping just to find just a little bit of quiet and calm in the midst of the madness that's going on in the world and the hardships and the pain that's going on, the suffering through different ecological crises, wars, fighting for democracy. I mean, it's never ending these days. It's so intensified. And so, for example, a few years ago, I live in Sonoma County in Northern California on the West Coast of the United States. And a few years ago, there were fires here. We've had it a few years, and there was talk about evacuation. And as the day progressed, it was like, okay, it seems more likely the fires are progressing south. They started north, they're coming down, they're going to have us evacuated. Maybe yes, maybe no, but the tension was there. The stress was there, it was palpable. So first we went and we filled our car with gas. And you can imagine the line at the gas station. You could just feel the tension. You could feel the anxiety. But we want to find peace within anxious times, right? So how do you find peace when that's going on? So I noticed how the energy was rising, my anxiety was rising, and I thought, okay, I have to shift something here. Otherwise, I'm just going to get, you see, I was born and raised in Israel. I've lived through wars, and I know what it's like when suddenly it's super anxious. You're totally prepared for war, for battle. And many times we treat that way when there's a fire or there are floods, right? So instead, what I said is I asked myself, what's going to create calmness in the situation now? How can I create wholeness for my family at this time today? So after the gas station, we went home. And I thought, I'm going to do laundry, because it wasn't like the fire was coming right now, right? It was like at some point today, there'll be some evacuation. Let's wait and see. So I thought, okay, I'll do laundry so that if we need to evacuate, all our clothes are clean. And there was something very stabilizing and simple and calming in doing the laundry and getting us ready to be prepared into an optimal state if we had to evacuate. We had all the clothes, all the underwears, everything would be clean. So that was my way to create quiet, calm, and peace through action. Then I thought, I'll cook a meal and I'll make something like a stew or something. I don't even know what I made, a soup, stew kind of a thing, so that anyone who's coming and going, getting masks or getting whatever family members were doing in order to prepare to hunker down or to evacuate, the hearth of the home will have a meal in a pot that anyone can come and take whenever they want to and warm up. That was my way through intentional action to create peace. And I have to tell you that when I was cooking that dish, I could feel the peacefulness come over me. Because instead of feeling the anxiety that I could feel was rising at the gas station as people were backing up and trying to get into the line to fill their cars with gas. And I recall going to the store and people were just buying cans and water off the shelf. It was like you could feel that people were creating, there was this hysterical energy, and I can connect to that just like anybody else can. But I went home and I got into my space, my home, my safe space, did the laundry, as I said, and cooked this meal. And I felt like I'm at the right time, in the right place, doing the right thing, saying the right thing. I'm creating this hearth feeling for my family. So there's nourishment if we have to leave. And I could feel peacefulness. And so that's how you create action. You create action in the midst of peace. It's kind of like inside the eye of the hurricane. It's incredible that it's peaceful and quiet inside there. Like, how can that be when the hurricane is so destructive? And yet inside the eye, the center of it, there is peacefulness. But it's through action rather than hoping that the assault of information will go away and somehow my thoughts will stop and I'll just feel peace. And I can't, because I've got a whole list of things I need to do and a family to take care of or a job to take care of or finances. And there's no time for a retreat for 3 days to be in the forest and just unwind and relax. I need to do it while I'm acting in the world. So then as the day progressed, it was like, okay, there'll probably be an evacuation. So you can imagine, it's like, okay, what do we want to take with us? What's important for us? What's not? And suddenly I just had this insight. It's like, let's go from room to room and just think, what is the 1 or 2 things in each room that we'd miss if there was a fire, if we'd come back and there wouldn't be a house there? And it was very simple. In each room, there was 1 or 2 things. Sometimes it was it was a memory, it was a drum, it was a few things. And the rest, it was like, okay, of course we'll grieve it, but we're okay to let go of it. And so we got the cars ready with those special things. We got our luggage ready with those things. And then it was 9 at night, it was 10 at night, and we hadn't heard yet, but it was like, okay, there's going to be an evacuation probably because the fires are coming closer to us. And we had this debate in our family. My spouse wanted to stay and see if there'd be an evacuation or not. And I was going, it's like, let's take action now. Let's leave before there's a call to evacuate. And then we're sitting in a car line in traffic evacuating. That creates a lot of stress. I mean, I'd be really stressed to be bumper to bumper, not knowing how close the fire is and not moving. So after a long debate, at 11 o'clock at night, I think even it was 11:11, because as I looked at the clock, there were 3 cars. My son was still living with us, whatever, he was 21 at the time, or 19 maybe. 1 car, I was in 1 car, and my spouse was with his mother, who lives in where we live, our dog, and those precious few things from each room that we took with us. We got in the car at 11 p.m. and we drove for an hour and a half in strong winds to my sister, who lived at the time 2 hours away, and we ended up spending a week there. Now, there was an evacuation, and it was at 4 a.m. And the police and the fire department went through every road. I live in a rural area, through every road, and said, wake up, evacuation now. Now, you can imagine at 4 a.m. while you're asleep, having to go, okay, we need to evacuate now. And I have a friend who lived down the road from where we used to live at the time, and she said, I evacuated at 4, and it was bumper to bumper in my street. I had to go the opposite way, and I had to find a back road to make it out of town. And I thought, such peacefulness, that at 11 o'clock, not knowing, maybe we're driving and there wouldn't be an evacuation, but there was something that just said, let's us take the initiative and take action now, instead of waiting and feeling the stress and not being able to fall asleep. And then at 4, suddenly everybody has to come together. It was like 11 o'clock, we drove in 3 cars, strong winds, and made it to my sister's and went to sleep there. And then began hearing the stories about the evacuation at 4 a.m. and how challenging it was and all of that. So here are different examples of waiting for circumstances to create peacefulness for you, or letting circumstances create a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress for you. And, having to evacuate when there's a fire creates a lot of stress. A lot of stress, because as we drove out from the driveway, it was goodbye to the house. And maybe it wouldn't be there when we would come back. It's hard to conceive of that even, because you go like, it's our home. Nothing's going to happen to our home. But you see on the news, homes being destroyed completely right now from a hurricane that's sweeping the East Coast or fires in Hawaii. It's like you see entire homes being destroyed. So the mind can't conceive of it, but you understand intellectually that it's possible. You just don't believe it's going to happen to you. But we had our most important things, and the rest, it was like, we of course, there's more things that we would like that were dear for us, but there was something in each room that felt like, that I take with me. The rest, I'm okay to let go. And even that is an intentional action to create peacefulness. You choose something that's dear for you, and the rest you say, I will let go. And so this is really how you can create peacefulness in action, in anxious times, how you create inner peace in anxious times, in trying time, in challenging times. Meet it where it's at. If your house is burning, apropos fires, you don't want to sit outside and start a peacefulness meditation, sitting cross-legged and just praying for peace. You want to meet the fire at the intensity that it's at, right? So if you're feeling these days that life has just intensified, the rate that life is coming at us is so much faster and so much more intense in your personal life, as well as in the news, in the world, and it's creating anxiety for you, then get into action. Get into intentional action so that you still have a choice about how you want to react to the situation. Because once it was evacuation time at 4 a.m., when the police came by, there wouldn't be many choices. There's one driveway out from our house, and it meets a crossroad, and then you're in line to get out of the village, right, of the town. But if you leave at 11, not knowing if there'll really be an evacuation, and you're all planned, then, you filled your car with gas, you created a meal, so everybody felt there's a hearth here. The hearth is still here in our family, in our home. And then you pick a few sacred, important things, you pack them, you're prepared, you create intention, and you calm your system in the midst of high anxiety, high challenge, high trying times, just a lot of energy that is so strong and can sweep you away, just like fire sweeps you away. And instead, you've countered it with inner peace. So, I invite you to think of something happening in your life, whether it is an ecological disaster that you're experiencing, or you live in a region where it's possible it's happened before, it might happen again. But also just anything that's going on in your life that feels like it's intense right now. What can you do to sit and plan an action that you're going to take where you're going to feel, wow, I did the right thing, the right time. I said the right thing. I was in the right place. I acted. This is how I created wholeness, how I created calm, by intentional action instead of reactive madness that is so easy to sweep you and get you off balance, just like fire does. And like fire has the potential, or strong winds, or, downpour of rain. What is an area in your life where you can do that? What is an area in your life where you feel this is intense right now, and I need to create some intentional action in order to prevent the anxiousness, the anxiety to build, I'm going to counter it because now I'm in control. I'm more in control. I'm meeting the situation where I'm at, where it's at. Yes, there's a fire threatening that's pretty harsh. We might leave and not have a house when we come home. That's pretty unstabling. And yet, this is what I have in my life right now. This is what we had at that time. And within that intensity, how can I create more control and find peace through action? And find peace in anxious times. And so this applies to financial issues that you have, work issues that you have, relationship issues. Be proactive. Take as much control as you're able to take in the situation so that you have some control of the outcome instead of just be reactive and then it's too late and you feel like you're thrashed around and you feel like you have no say and it's just coming at you from every direction and it's assaulting your being, your system, your senses. You can write in the comments, this is what I did, what I have done. If you have a story of finding the calmness of the eye of the storm in the midst of something intense that has happened to you, or how you can use it in something that's coming up for you or that you're experiencing right now, I'd love to hear that. I'd love to learn from the collective wisdom that we have, how you have dealt and how you have found peace in anxious times, whether it's the collective anxious time that we're in or anxious times that are just unique to your life. So I send you blessings of peace through action, taking control and meeting the intensity with equal intensity, equal slowing down and calming the situation so that you can act from a place of peacefulness and be in control of your responses, not in a controlling way, but moving, flowing through it. And then you don't feel the intensity as much because you're walking through the intensity from a different place. And that is true peacefulness. That is true inner peace. Whatever is happening to you, you are a walking meditation, a talking meditation of peacefulness because you are acting and taking action in whatever needs to be done at this very moment in the situation that is happening. So it's not peacefulness there in a retreat and then back to anxiety. It's bringing the two together. And you bring it together not by sitting quietly, which you can do. And there's enough teachings on the internet how to find peacefulness. There's meditations for it by sitting quietly. But I want to offer you something else. Find peace, find inner peace through action. So I leave you with that. I send you blessings of peace through action and finding true inner peace in anxious times. Blessings.